Hi guys, this is Mr. Tan, and today we're looking at hospitality operations, and we're focusing specifically on personal selling techniques. And you may say, well, why do we need to focus on personal selling techniques? Well, that's important in terms of, accommodation services and the front of desk, and even, with the receptionist, applying these techniques to maximize sales, to upsell, to see who are walk-in customers, to offer rooms to people, and to negotiate as well, to maximize the fulfillment of the rooms that you have, to maximize the revenue in the hotel. So we're going to be looking at some of these personal selling techniques. So session overview to distinguish the various phases of the selling process. Apply different questions to different selling situations. Understand what is involved in the presentation and demonstration. Know how to deal with buyers' objections. Understand and apply the art of negotiation, and to close a sale. So when we look at sales, we can see that even a receptionist at front of desk will be involved in sales at some way or another. Who sells in the hotel? Maybe the receptionist and how they come across and what they're actually offering. But sometimes they may not think that they're actually selling, but they could be selling on the phone if a customer comes on the phone and asks them about information, rather than, or do you pass it on to the sales team? But if you are a small hotel, then you would deal with it yourself. In terms of who sells in the hotel, in terms of pre-arrival, in terms of the arrival stage, in terms of the occupancy, and the departure stage. And again, you're still selling even at the departure stage, in terms of hoping that the customer comes back and gives you a good review as well. So what is personal selling? Personal selling is a powerful two-way form of communication. It allows an interactive relationship to be developed between the buyer and seller, in which the latter can modify the information presented in response to the needs of the audience. Palmer, 2011. So what does this mean? As a salesperson engaged in personal selling, just what do you do to be effective? How do you upsell to the customer? How do you sell something to someone when he didn't realize they wanted it? When you say that they didn't want it, well, when we look at needs, there can be existing needs or there can be latent needs. So if we're thinking of it from a needs perspective, these needs will be latent, that they actually exist within them, that they do actually want it. Tasks in a personal sale, prospecting for new customers, preparation and planning, knowing what you're going to say, what you have to offer, and what are the features and benefits of your product that you're offering. Sales presentation, the pitch, handling objectives, closing the sale, and then the follow-up. So if we look at the sales model, SPIN, we can see that if you go through the situation about the facts and background of information, leading on to the problem, about problems, difficulties, or dissatisfaction, leading on to the implications about the effects or consequences of problems, and then the need and payoff about the value and usefulness of a solution. So, and therefore to uncover and to develop the need at the center of this sales model. If we look about another sales model here, Jobber 2004, he says, you need to be prepared. You need to be prepared in terms of knowing what your product is, knowing the features of the product. So if you know the features of your product, then depending upon the customer, you can sell different features to meet the different needs and the benefits of individual customers. And then the opening how do you open, need and problem identification, again identifying the need of the customer, presentation and demonstration in terms of meeting that need, dealing with any objections that customers might have, so coming back with a counter response in terms of the benefit, and also linking in here the emotional side of things as well, closing the sale, getting the customer to agree and sign, pay, and then the follow-up. If we look about the AIDA model, awareness, attention, interest, desire, and action, so we can see this sales model of AIDA, trying to get someone's attention, trying to take them down to the interest, and then the desire, and then to form part of action. And what is what you do at these different stages. Attention, make them aware of it. Interest, what's of benefit to them. Like the features and the benefits. Okay, the benefits to that specific customer. The desire. Here we might use a promotion or a discount to say you'll be getting this, this, and this. So someone or the customer feels like he's getting some additional benefit, and then the action. Handling objections. Now, what are objections? Objections are any concerns or questions raised by the buyer. Objection handling exercise, group to suggest various sales situations which would be handled at the reception. So come up with 5 objections that could be raised by buyers. Swoop and then swap with another group. And then think about this, even if you're looking at it by yourself, what objections do you think you would or you could have if someone was trying to upsell something to you? And then how do you think you would overcome those objections? So come up with ways of handling each objection. Substantive and emotional. So substantive and emotional deal with both. Substantive relates to the objection itself. And emotional, avoid buyer losing face or feeling antagonized. So did your solution do this? So on the emotional side, so you're turning things around and you're actually making the buyer feel good about himself. So some strategies includes to listen and not interrupt. The straight denial, forestall the objection, hidden objections, trial close, question the objection, and agree and counter with another positive as regards to why the customer could benefit from this and it would be good for him to take this up. Questioning techniques, in terms of questions being open-ended questions or even closed-ended questions. The difference. So what is the difference? What are the advantages and disadvantages of a open-ended question and a closed-ended question? Questions have many uses. Questions are basically an invitation to share new information or opinions and can be used to establish information, validate an understanding, increase awareness, promote thinking, be incisive, direct attention, and challenge the current thinking and create new inquiries. So follow up with questions, pick up specific people, say that raise an obvious follow-up question, notice changes and expressions of body language, energy. Again, very, very important. And even with the body language is very important because depending on what someone is saying, if they had their hands clenched and up, well, that's a highly negative view. So whatever's going through their mind at that point is a negative train of thought, and you want to actually change the subject and topic at that point to get them to remove their hands, because you can't close a sale if something negative is going through their minds. If they're evaluating, the time is to understand that body language and not to interrupt, and allow that customer to keep on evaluating what they're thinking, and so on and so forth. So body language obviously is important. It's a two-way communication. So you're reading, if you're face to face, you're reading actually what their body is saying. drilling down. Often we assume things, we take statements at face value, we make our own conclusions. Drilling down helps to establish, why things are important to people rather than guessing. So again, very important. Drilling down helps to establish the real need or reason. Prompting, give a piece of information and prompt. Ask a question. Listen, and then demonstrate understanding, that you actually, you understand how they feel to some degree. And it gives back down, then completing the circle. So as a prompting exercise here, think of some things, you might want to ask your partner. Spend 5 minutes creating prompts. Choose an A and B. A starts the conversation with a prompt. A then, asks a related question to B. A then drills down to really understand B's answer, to really go down to deeper, to ask more questions, to find out exactly what they mean. A replies back to B periodically to demonstrate understanding and checks for confirmation. And it's got to be sincere as well, because people will see if you're not sincere. Switch roles 2 or 3 cycles. Repeat if time allows. Open and close questions. Open questions, probes, used to encourage clients to respond freely. If used too much, conversation may lack focus. Closed, questions, closed probes, best used for clarification and confirmation. If it's too much, it could turn out to be quite narrow. Golden silence. Studies have shown that people generally wait only 1 second after asking a question before they either rephrase it, ask a new question, make some additional comment, answer their own question. So when asking an opening question, the more you stay silent, the more the client is likely to elaborate. An introduction to negotiating. When will the front office team negotiate? At what point do you think someone should negotiate? With walk-in guests. The revenue team, we will be given a minimum price, which rooms can be sold for that day. But can you renegotiate these if it's late in the day and there's no one's going to take up that room? The guests will want to pay the lowest price. They often use the argument, well, who else is going to buy that room? Take my money. There's some negotiating videos here. Have a look at these and try and listen to these and see what you think. Considerations. What are the goals? Trades. Alternatives. Relationships. Expected outcomes. The consequences. Power. Possible solutions. And closing the sale. The concession close. It's the objection close. Action agreement, you agree to it. The alternative close. Summarize and ask. And basically ask for the order. Salesperson's abilities, research the personal abilities of a person engaged in personal selling. Design a personal specification of their knowledge, their skills, and their abilities, and their confidence as well. Present this in full with rationale for your decision. How will you take this into consideration when hiring front office personnel? So in conclusion, we've looked at the sales, personal selling, questioning, negotiating, and hiring the right people. And added to this when you're doing two-way communication is obviously a great deal of body language and understanding body language to a greater degree. So thank you today from Mr. Tan.